sorts of new stuff. All right, great to see everybody. Just had a great walkthrough, and maybe we'll try to have a heck of a Wednesday and go from there. So, what we got?
Mike, how's Sam doing, and what's the plan this week? Is he going to have to be limited at all in terms of how much he throws?
Yeah, Sam continues to get better. You know, he's not going to be a full go the whole week, so we have a plan. We're going to work through it, see how the day goes, and then we'll kind of take it day by day and then take it to tomorrow. But he won't be like throwing every ball, every play for the whole week, no.
What about Charles Cross? Are you expecting him to practice today?
Charles did walk. We're kind of working it through with Charles right now, so we'll see how it plays out the rest of the day.
And how's, while we're on the injury subject, how's Josh Jones doing?
Yeah, I don't believe Josh is going to practice today. So.
Did George get activated? George, could George get realistic to play Sunday? Can he get ready that fast? Or?
Yeah. George is in great shape. He's been working his tail off. We're excited to get him out there. I haven't seen him practice in a minute, so it'll be fun.
Are there certain games where there's a clear advantage that you try to game plan to exploit, and other ones where it's such a close game, such a close match that you focus more on what you want to do versus what the opponent presents?
No, I mean, if you talk to me from Monday to Thursday, there's just a lot of problems, you know, that you're trying to solve, and that's every week. And as you start to kind of feel like you have some things that you want to be able to do, and you see the guys execute in practice, you know, it starts to come into focus as the week starts to, you know, get towards the end.
I think over the course of 2 games, the point difference is like 1 point, yardage is like 1 yard between you and the Rams.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about when you two match up, why it's such tight games?
Well, they're a really good team, and you know, they play hard, they play together, they got really talented players, they got a great scheme. You know, it's a great matchup. So it's right where we should be at this point in the year. It's pretty cool.
What really makes Puka Nacua stand out? I know it's the obvious his size and things like that, but just in general,
Yeah, well, I mean, you name it. I mean, ball skills are tremendous. So a lot of those contested catches he's coming down with, body control, you know, on the sideline, being able to make plays. He kind of do everything, so you can't just count for him for doing one thing. He's great in the run game. He's great running after catch. Yeah, I mean, he kind of gets like hidden yardages, which is a testament to his toughness, and so he does a lot of great things. He's a really good player.
Now that you've gotten obviously exposure to the offensive side of play calling, what are some of the differences between offensive play calling and defensive play calling?
Well, defensively, you're just kind of inherently reactionary. You know, it's hard to dictate terms defensively because they're allowed to do whatever they want and line up however they want. So I think that's probably the most fundamental difference. At some point, though, you know, like the kind of the tables do turn based off of something that maybe the offense would expect, and you're in something different or a different presentation or a different personnel group. So, but that's where it starts. It's just they're kind of dictating terms initially.
You guys had a positive turnover differential against every other team in the league this season combined. What was the difference in those 2 games, you think, against the Rams, and how do you change that this time around?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you're looking at a really small sample, and it's kind of like 2 independent like observations that happen to not go our way, takeaway wise. So you look offensively, like, hey, there's some things we could do better to protect the ball. Special teams wise, you know, I thought we've been pretty sound, you know, with the football and been secure. And defensively, I think there's some things that we did in the first game that was really good, that we took the ball away, and we had some opposite pass game. And it's kind of like, are we doing the things we need to do defensively to kind of put the ball in jeopardy and be able to attack it? And so it's kind of like a play-by-play, game-by-game type of thing. And they do a good job protecting it, you know. So, but that really doesn't really have an effect on like how we prepare or what we're trying to do in terms of making the ball come to life.
When you look at the 2 games, what have you thought of how the Russian coverage has worked together to try to affect Matthew?
I felt like we've been on point sometimes, and not so much, especially the second game. But look, you got to tip your captain. They played a great game. Stafford played a tremendous game. I mean, Puka obviously had a great game in the second game, and you know, they did what they did to put up all the yards and points that they did. We got to figure out a way to, you know, to stop them this time. And as a team, I'm proud of the way that we figured out a way to win the game, given all the given what happened on defense.
Mike, with that second game, that's the only team that's kind of been able to do that against you guys anytime recently here. What kind of stood out to you when you went back and looked at it about what kind of went wrong that game and how you're looking to flip it this time?
Well, first you got to give them credit. They had a great game plan, and they made a lot of great plays. So they had guys open, and when they didn't, they still made some plays. And I think the explosives really, inflate the stats a lot. That's how you get. The only way you get to a number like that is by some really explosive plays, and those are good plays by them. Plays that we have to execute it, better. But when I'm thinking of that game, I'm thinking of, hey, got punched in the mouth early, and then our guys regrouped, and we kind of put ourselves back in a position to go win the game defensively. So there's positives and things you want to grow from that game for sure.
After that game, and then I think after the Bucs game earlier, you said kind of similar things about how you maybe gave them too much game plan wise, and I know that second game was on a short week, but
yeah.
Do you have a better feel for like the right amount of what they can handle and everything?
Yeah, you're always going to go into the game hoping that this is the right. You're kind of at that sweet spot. But look, anytime the result doesn't go your way, I got a big hand in how we play too, and so you got to look inward and say, okay, well, what were some of the inputs throughout the week that maybe I could have helped the guys out better, or even in the game about some of the play calls that we made. And there's several in that game where you want back, and it stings to say. It stings that that's the case, but that's the case, So you got to confront it and say, okay, well, what are the things we can do throughout the week to put ourselves in a better situation where we can help our guys out more? And so that's the mentality. It's the same thing after Tampa Bay, and you can feel it in real time, like when your guys are in a certain position and it's not necessarily advantageous for them. Well, turns out that's on the design of the play and what you're asking them to do. So you can kind of feel that in real time for sure.
You guys haven't had a chance yet to get Matt Stafford on the ground, no sacks yet. How much of that do you see as the rush and how it was doing versus coverage? I know they work together.
Well, again, they do a really great job of getting the ball out on time and playing decisively. So we have to disrupt timing. It's really the fact of the matter. And we've gotten to him a few times where he's gotten rid of it and thrown the ball away, which have been smart decisions where he hasn't put the ball in danger. So I think there's some good plays that we're putting on tape to be able to affect him. It's not as much as we want or as frequently as we want. But I think you're talking about that's a product of like how you're playing early down football and situational football that puts you in those moments where maybe you can dial something up.
When it comes to preparation, now that you've got a 2-game sample size of the Rams in the playoffs and your team in a playoff game, does that change anything about how you prepare, evaluate, or look at just kind of what's out there?
Well, you're always going to use what information is out there. So since we have the extra game that we can watch, which is great, but that really doesn't affect our process at all. We're just it's actually like I didn't do any work on either of these teams on Sunday because I did that and I just wasted a whole day in the round before. So it's just like, look, let's just take it like a normal week. So Sunday happened, let's go to work on Monday. Let's do our normal Monday. Yesterday's a normal Tuesday. Let's do what we do on Wednesday today, and it's week 20 now, which is kind of cool. The guys were fired up to hear that in the team meeting today.
On that note, you've spoken a lot about that, about maintaining kind of that routine and that mindset in the process. When you walk in and there's a different backdrop and there's some other little different new things, do you allow yourself to feel the magnitude of it, or is that for some time down the road?
Yeah, I think it's going to be natural to kind of have your mind's going to go there, and it's going to happen to all of us. But it's really it's not like we're just going to ignore it. It's like, no, just come back to center because that's kind of it's just not important. What's more important is what we do on the things every day that's within our control. And it doesn't mean you can't enjoy the process and appreciate where you're at and have gratitude for what our team has been able to accomplish at this point. But that's really what I'm asking the guys. That's a good reminder to me, giving you this answer is hey, when it happens, okay, great, and then just come back and how great can we be at refocusing throughout the week?
Mike, you have been in a conference title game before in Baltimore. What do you kind of take away from that experience? Anything you learned from that to kind of turn forward to this one?
Look, a lot of our philosophy is coming from, our experiences, right? That's how you generate, these thoughts on things, and so that has helped shape, why we do what we do, why we treat it just like another week. There's some things we took away from that game that you kind of said, okay, we're going to get there again. We handle it a little bit differently, from my perspective, not from like how John built the week or anything like that. It's just how you want to get your team ready to go.
Mike, we've been hearing from players, from you all year, about how close this team is. That Week 11 loss, Sam has a tough outing. We hear what we heard from EJ and all the defense picking him up. I'm wondering just like how clear an example that is, and then maybe what the lasting effect of it is. And you haven't lost since then, and just maybe how the team rallied around that.
Well, it's funny. I think if you took a straw poll from the guys around the team, I think that game was a game where it really came into focus about what type of team we could be. And that we have a special group that was resilient as heck and had each other's backs, and we're going to stick up for each other and fight like heck for 60 minutes and really becoming the team that we wanted to be. We started to have some real evidence of it, even though it wasn't really the outcome that we wanted. So, kind of glad that it happened. Kind of like, it's stunk in the moment, but given where we're at now, like that was an important part of our season that I felt like something maybe we had to go through to get to the point where we're at now.
The team released a video today of you during the first team meeting talking about a vision of the NFC Championship. When did that become the vision, and that was what you were going to talk to the team about in that first conversation?
It's funny, when Dave showed me that, all I was thinking about how nervous I was going to the first team meeting. I don't know if you can tell, that was a good editing job by our people. There's probably some more awkward pauses throughout that. It's funny, it's actually a point of like an inside joke with the guys about like, it's just we didn't know each other, and it was our first like true interaction. It was just kind of this wild experience, and everyone talks about like what your first message to the team is going to be, and it's really overblown, frankly. But and you think about, hey, look, what am I going to talk to the team about? What's the first thing? I don't want to say the wrong thing, But it just came to me. I think God just allowed me to just like kind of just take the pressure away, and said, this is what you should say. And it's pretty powerful. It's pretty awesome.
Did you check the weather for Sunday?
I actually did, yeah. I think it's going to be in the 40s, unfortunately.
You missed the forecast, Mike.
A few degrees.
Mike, going back to, you said you guys kind of rallied around the loss of Week 11 and decided what team you want to be. What was different about that game, I guess, than maybe losing to the Niners, which was close, and losing to the Bucs, which was close? What was different about that game, I guess?
It's a good question. I don't think it's like, hey, now we realized it. I think that's, or we realized like what we wanted to be. I think that was clear from the get-go of what we were chasing. But just to be that probably deep into the season, and to feel like, hey, this outcome could have gone the other way, and given all the things that didn't go our way in the game against a really good team. And so I think it puts some urgency behind playing a little bit cleaner football, and understanding like, hey, look, we can expect to try to figure out ways to win these types of games, and we're good enough to be able to do that.
The Rams were really good against the blitz all year, and then they've struggled against it in the playoffs. When you face a team that's got kind of disparate results in those situations, how do you weigh what to pay more attention to?
Yeah, I think, the blitz thing is an interesting question, because it's just like, well, what's the context? And so that's how we look through it. And so there's sometimes where it's important to send people, sometimes it's important where it's not. Try not to put too much stock into like one game, just especially against a team that you're really familiar with. So it really doesn't really affect like how we're going to think about how we want to game plan the game.
You were asked, might have been on the radio a few weeks ago, about John potentially winning Executive of the Year. I think you said, it's only a matter by how much. When you just look at the job he's done building this roster, really before you got here to now, over the last 3-4 years, trades, free agency, draft, just what stands out about the job he's done?
Well, when Saul asked me why, it took me a minute to come up with the answer, but it really is like conviction of what we're trying to build and what we want the Seahawks to be all about, and he's led the charge. So it's really that simple, and then I think just like his leadership example on a day-to-day basis. Shows up in so many ways, just like the spirit of the building, his interaction with everyone. I mean, he talks to more people in the building than I do, you know, like he's doing his thing all the time, and he's been incredibly helpful to me. You know, I was talking to somebody today actually about just like, hey, look, I didn't know anything coming in. Like you're just trying to do the best job you possibly can every day, and you know, he knew when to kind of give you some air to breathe and grow and expand and learn, you know, maybe fall a little bit, and then he also was there to support you when you needed it. So he's just got a great feel for how to handle those situations, whether it be me or anybody else in the building.
Mike, in week 20, common opponent when you're game planning, how much you have to focus on the why, or is it more about the execution now, since your players understand who they are?
What was the first
on
thing?
the why of each play. You've talked about how important that is.
Yeah, well, it's the same. It's just, hey, look, this is what we're going to call. This is why. All right, let's go do it. See what it looks like, and then go from there. If it looks great, let's keep hammering it out. If it doesn't, let's figure out how we can make it clearer, or let's move on. You know, so it's the same cadence.
On the blitz rate numbers, statistically, you guys have one of the lowest in the NFL this year. Did you anticipate that going into the year? Is that just kind of the general thought, or does it change kind of how you?
Yeah, it does change, but frankly, I anticipated us pressuring more. But it's just you gotta listen to your team, and I felt like we've done a good job of that.
Thinking back to off-season workouts when majority of the team showed up for what was voluntary workouts, you mentioned it a lot, talking about it back then, but now that you're this far into the season, what did that kind of do for you guys, like, during the season?
Yeah, great. We would not be here if the guys didn't buy in the way they did and work the way they did in the off-season. And it's easier said than done. You can ask till you're blue in the face for them to come to our off-season program. But if you haven't built something out the way that like Ivan and Danny and the rest of the guys built out, and our coaches create an environment where they feel like they can come and get great work in and spend time with their teammates and actually improve as a player, if you're not doing those things to back it up, you know, guys aren't going to want to come. So really, it's the players having taking a leap of faith, trusting us and trusting what we've been able to bring to the table for them, and our coaches and staff, you know, create an awesome environment where they feel like they can get better. So. If we didn't do it, we would not be here right now. I'm convinced of that.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, obviously third time playing these guys. Really good team, right? Really good defense, really good scheme, good players. So like always, man, we're really excited about this opportunity to play these guys. And yeah, you just got to have a really good week of practice. For me, I gotta continue to attack, all the things that I need to attack. Just getting ready, like I said, getting ready to play these guys, but also just getting my body right, to be ready for Sunday.
When you went back and actually studied Saturday's film, what stood out about the offense outside of the obvious numbers?
Yeah, I think just staying on schedule. I think staying positive on first and second down, staying ahead of the chains. I think that's a huge point of emphasis for us. Every single week. So for us to go out and do that last week, it was huge.
Stating the obvious, but what has it done for you guys defensively to have the run game do what it's been doing for the last 4 or 5 games?
Yeah, whenever you get the run game going the way it has been, it's huge. It opens up the pass game and play action off of it. Run keepers, all those things. So yeah, it's great whenever the run game gets going.
So how do you feel a day after that game, and how do you feel now?
Felt good. Feeling really good. Just attacking rehab these last couple days. Obviously, will be throughout the week. So, like I said, just got to continue to prepare and get my body right for Sunday.
We knew that about the Rams earlier in the week, and he said he wouldn't want it any other way, playing these guys. Do you feel similar?
Who said that? I'm sorry.
Mike Macdonald.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel similarly? And is there anything unique about the Rams that kind of separates them from everyone else?
Like I said, they're a really good team. Obviously, it's the NFC Championship, so two best teams in the NFC going at it. So yeah, it's a really good opportunity to just play good football. Have that kind of next opponent, next game mentality. Obviously, we know the stakes. Kind of like I said last week, the stakes of the game. It's win or go home at this point, but we look at it as another game. You know, we trust our process throughout the week and go about it that way.
Mike Macdonald said he exhaled a little bit after the sequence where you got sacked and then hit Cooper on the next play. Did you have any moments in the game like that where you felt like, yeah, I'm going to be okay or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, I think just once I came out, to be honest, once I came out in warm-ups and felt good throwing the ball, you know, I was confident about going out there and letting it rip. And, you know, whatever happens throughout the game, whether I take a hit or not, like, you know, it's whatever happens, happens. You know, if something, you know, tragic happens and I, you know, go down and, you know, can't get up or, you know, then it is what it is. And, you know, Drew, Jalen, you know, they're ready to go, but obviously, hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I'm ready to, you know, attack everything and be ready for anything.
Sam, what will you guys miss without having Zach available now?
Yeah, obviously, Zach's you know, he's been a huge part of our offense. You know, just the way that he runs the football, downhill runner. He's been really good for us this year, so we're going to miss him. But we got a lot of guys that can step up, you know, with him out.
You played a little bit with Velus at USC, right?
With who? Bayless?
Bayless,
yeah.
Do you remember? What do you remember about him when you guys were at SC together?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he's a great dude, you know, and then he's just a really good runner, explosive, you know, can make guys miss.
Ben, how do you manage your reps this week? And at this stage of the year, is it important that you get the majority of the reps, or 20 weeks in, you kind of know what you're doing?
Yeah, I think it's always important to get reps throughout practice, throughout walkthroughs. So reps are always vital throughout the week.
You mentioned how important it is to stay on schedule. Earlier in the season, you guys were toward the bottom of the NFL in second or third and long and converting. You've actually become like one of the best teams at that recently. Is that something that you guys have kind of worked on to be able to get back on schedule?
Yeah, I think, you know, for us, it's just everyone doing their job, right? It's doesn't necessarily, you know, you don't work on that more than you would on, you know, other weeks. I think it's just everyone executing and doing their job. But I think just, you know, everyone kind of locking into their job and their responsibilities as the season has progressed. We've just gotten better at that.
Mike was talking about the Week 11 loss down in LA and the feeling of the team coming out of the game, like how you guys felt like despite the loss, you had something really good going. Just, what do you kind of remember about the vibe coming out of that game?
Yeah, obviously, you know, it wasn't my best performance. You know, just you know, and was still a chance to win at the end. So, you know, for me personally, it's just, you know, obviously it comes down to protecting the football, being smart, and getting the ball out of my hands at the same time.
And then,
you know, there.
With that, you know, we hear all the time about how close this team is. What Ernest said after that game, like, how much did that kind of, was that an example of what we've been seeing all year?
Yeah, I think, you know, that's how we feel about everybody, you know, and obviously he said that about me, and it was great. You know, it's great to hear that, you know, especially coming from EJ, one of the, you know, leaders on this team. But everyone feels that same way. Like, everyone has each other's back in that locker room, and that's one of the best parts about this team.
Sam, on the topic of protecting the ball, I just mentioned, Mike has told us that his coaching style to you and everyone else is not just simply don't mess up. Like in your case, he's like, I'm not going to tell Sam, don't throw picks, right? Not that simple. Does that matter to you that the messaging is that way? Like, it's not just don't mess up. You know? Does that have an effect on you?
Yeah, I think, you know, I've been saying it all year. Like, I'm going to turn it loose, and I'm going to, you know, if it's there and, you know, we get the coverage for the right play and I feel like it's there, I'm going to let it rip. But yeah, just being smart with the football is always at a premium. Like, I gotta take care of the football at the end of the day, and you know, that's where my mind's at. But you know, if we get the right coverage and the right play, and I feel like the guy's open, I'm gonna let it rip.
Is that something you're maybe better equipped? That's probably not the right word, but like better equipped to do now in the year, whatever you are in, versus earlier?
Yeah, I think, you know, experience always plays a part in it. You know, and kind of leave it at that. But yeah, I think the more you experience the game, the way games go, you know, it's just, we've kind of seen throughout the playoffs, honestly, too, like teams that take care of the football are, you know, usually the ones that end up in the win column at the end of the day.
From your perspective, what do the Rams do so well defensively that led to some of those takeaways?
Yeah, you know, they do a lot of really good things defensively. Just their scheme's really good. You know, Coach Shula, those guys do a really good job of coaching those guys up on what to do. And like I said, the players make it come to life, you know, with certain disguises and pressures. So it's, you know, they're a really good team, really good defense, and play really hard.
Coach often talks about how this team is able to focus in on just having the best Wednesday, best Thursday, block out all the
external stuff. I'm sure that's a lot easier said than done, right? So what does it say about this team that you've been able to do that to get to this point, whether it's week 5 or now week 20?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with routine, in my opinion. Like, I feel like everyone does such a good job of keeping their routine the same, throughout the day. And, when you do that, it's easier to go about it like, oh, let's just go 1-0 this week, or this is just another week. If you change your routine, one of the things too is having, a couple press conferences during this week. So trying not to, change my routine too much based on those kind of things. But, it's just keeping everything the same, watch the same amount of tape I do on a normal week, and, go about it that way.
You've played for a lot of different coaches at this point, and I've had most of the full season with Mike Macdonald. How would you describe him differently than other coaches? What stands out about him?
I don't know if I could say what he does different. I just know that things that he does really well. He's very honest. He's very honest with the players, and he listens to players. If we're feeling a certain type of way, and about whatever it is, he's going to listen to us. But at the same time, like, he knows what's best for the team. And if guys are saying one thing and they feel like we need something, then coach is going to put his foot down and be like, no, this is what I feel like the team needs. So he's really good at balancing that as a head coach, which I feel like can be hard. So he does such a good job of just running the show and leading us.
Jackson was just named Offensive Player of the Year by the Pro Football Writers Association. Just what can you say about what he's meant to this offense this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's deserved it. He deserves it. He's just the way that he is day in and day out, his consistency. I think that's what everyone appreciates about him. And then certain games where he might not get the touches, he might not get the yards or a touchdown. He's going to have the same attitude every single day, and I think that's what people appreciate about him around here.
Last week, Ray Zabel was talking about how he and Jalen are to the point where you don't have to talk during a game. He can just get the call, they can look at each other. Certainly that affects their effectiveness. Mm-hmm. In what way does that affect you when the O-line is?
Yeah, I think just everyone being on the same page, like you said, without having to communicate all the time, that's huge. It allows us to operate faster, which again, it helps us stay on schedule on first and second down. It's all tied together. So we just got to continue to do a good job of that, and staying on the details throughout the week. I think that's a big part of it is, understanding what kind of defense we're playing and what different type of looks we can get, and everyone communicating and being on the same page.
Sam, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Leonard Williams.
So who brought the belt to the sideline in the game last week?
I don't know where that came from, honestly. I was just hype on the sideline of just where we were at that point in the game, and I looked over to my right and I seen Jackson with it, and I think he wanted me involved in the fun, and I couldn't say no.
What was your biggest takeaway from that game when you had a chance to really dive into the film?
To me, I think we played our style of football on all three levels. Complementary football. I think every team talks about that going into camp, of just having complementary football, being good on all three levels, special teams, offense, defense. And I think that was a complete football game on our side on all three phases.
How much of a difference does it make to score first or to get out to an early lead?
I mean, I think it makes a huge difference. All that momentum swinging in the beginning of the game. Then our defense goes out there and gets a great fourth down stop, which is pretty much a turnover. We consider that a turnover on defense. And then offense gets points. I think playing complementary football like that just builds a lot of trust and confidence within our team. And, getting that from play one kickoff is just a huge momentum swing.
Rams came out last game and were pretty aggressive on fourth down early on. Is that something that you guys are expecting again this time?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are aggressive nowadays on fourth down, especially short yardage situations, especially in big games like this where you have to win or you're going home, And I think, we do a great job on defense of preparing for those situations and knowing what's to come.
Leo, looking back to that last game, 580 yards, whatever it was, just kind of nobody's really been able to do that to you guys most of the season here. What do you kind of look back on and kind of take away as to why that kind of played out the way it did, and what do you kind of see needing to turn around for you guys this week to change?
I would say that definitely wasn't our best game defensively. What I love about this team is going back to being good on all three phases of football. I think we're going to find ways to get the job done, which we did. And, sometimes the defense is having the offense's back, and sometimes vice versa. Sometimes special teams is having our back. But I don't think we started the way we wanted to as a defense. I think at halftime we made better adjustments, and I think we're able to stop the run a little bit better in the second half. I think that's what is going to be a big factor of this game is stopping the run earlier.
Given the way both games against them went and just the success both teams had, did this sort of feel inevitable that there was going to be a third matchup in the postseason between you two?
I was just expecting this to happen this way. I think it's interesting that the only two teams we played in feels like over a month is the Niners and the Rams, but I think it's a testament to how good this division has been this year. A lot of respect for both of those teams, but I have even more respect for my team and confidence in my team, and just the way we make it about us is special to me. I think every week, obviously, no matter how many times we play them, we're trying to find new ways to attack them and ways to get after them. But at the same time, I think our team does a great job of making it about us every day.
Your comment about Gray the other day and kind of the tip he gave you got a lot of attention. How rare is that happens, I guess, that you guys give such specific tips and things like that?
I think it's really rare, and I think what's so cool about that clip specifically and that moment specifically is I think it's even a heightened sense of the type of relationship and team we have. From it being, I'm a year 11 veteran coming from a rookie. I think that's a very drastic version of it. But I think you see that everywhere in this team, from player to coach, from player to player, guys on the same side of the ball, guys on the opposite side of the ball. You see guys hyping up special teams. It's like we just have such a togetherness, and I think that's really been, to me, from my experience in the league, the defining moment, defining characteristic of our season is just how much we play together.
Why do you think it is that way? I feel like it'd be easy for you to be like, oh, I'm year 11, a vet. I'm not going to pour into the rookies. I've got all my money and can do what I want. Yeah. Why is it that the vets here seem to want to really pour into the rookies and the young guys?
I think a big shout out to Schneider and the office up there. I think they're bringing in the right type of people, the right type of guys. I think having a team with no ego, being able to, willingly learn from one another with no ego involved is special. Especially guys who have felt like I've been on teams where, guys have been players of the year, Pro Bowls, all pros and things like that, and ego starts to seep in, and I think that's when it's harder to play together as a team sometimes in those moments. This team is truly, I don't think I've ever been on a team that has zero ego, and I think it's special.
Your guys' social team just posted a video of Mike's first team meeting with you guys in 2024, and kind of painting the vision of imagine yourselves in an NFC Championship game in Seattle in January. What do you remember about that, and do you feel like the trajectory to this day kind of started all the way back then, and how has Mike sort of impacted the road to this point?
I definitely remember. It hasn't been too long now since Mike has been here. He's made a huge impact and a huge difference in a short amount of time. And I think what makes Mike special is he practices what he preaches. He's always talking about chasing edges. He's always talking about what's important now. I think he's, he openly will talk to us on what he has to work on as a coach. He talks about where he lacks and where he wants to grow, and you see the growth. And I think him setting that standard as a leader for our team kind of seeps into the rest of the team and allows us to feel that we can be that same way, allows us to show vulnerabilities where we're weak and let other guys know that's where we need to grow. And it just creates an open dynamic where when we're in the film room and we're coaching on things, it's like you don't see guys getting offended. We're just like, okay, this is something we need to attack. I'm not attacking the player, we're attacking the problem type of thing. And I think it just starts with Coach Mike. I think he's done a great job of leading this team.
Looking back on Saturday, what was the atmosphere like being on the field in the middle of all that? Did it feel like it was kind of cranked up a notch for the playoffs?
As far as our team, I think we showed up. We had the same energy throughout the game that we always do. I think we never get too high or too low, and that's kind of what's special about this team. But the atmosphere was just insane. Having the home field advantage during the playoffs is definitely special. It's special for us to be able to bring that to the 12s. And, they definitely showed out. My favorite moment was seeing the Darth Vader in the stands because representing the dark side. I want to see more of that.
Where was that in the stands?
I don't remember. I just seen them up on the Jumbotron, and that was my favorite moment.
Mike was talking earlier about the loss you guys had in Week 11 down in LA. Turns out was your last loss. And kind of coming out of that game feeling really good about the direction you're going, even though you lost the game. Just what do you remember kind of about the vibes coming out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, even going all the way back to Week 1, the losses we've had this year, we've really been able to just grow from them. They haven't really hindered us in our belief as a team, or, losing hasn't really discouraged us in any way. I think after losses this year, we really, turn it up a little bit. Like I said, we do a good job of keeping even keel after a win or a loss, but I think sometimes those losses do kind of fuel us and ignite us a little bit more to just find better ways to just grow as a team, and I think that's what we've done after each loss.
You guys haven't yet sacked Matt Stafford, and curious why you think that is.
I mean, if you watch the games, he gets the ball out extremely fast. I think what they do a good job at is, putting them in third and manageable downs. I think I think they have the shortest distance on third downs in the league, which allows for quick passes. You don't have to sit back and drop and read coverages and all these things when you only need 3 to 5 yards for a first down. There's a lot of times he just catches the ball and knows exactly where to put it. Sometimes he's not even looking. He knows exactly where to put it. He's a great quarterback, and I think that's why I said I think we're going to have to do a good job on first and second down, stopping the run, getting them in a little bit more backed up third downs.
There you go. Thanks, Will. Appreciate it.